Hi everyone, and welcome to a new episode of the Non-Native Leader, my video podcast series where we explore stories of people who were not born in an English-speaking country, but today they use English as their main language for work, for life, for both. And if you follow the series, you see we've spoken to people in IT, fintech, the arts, politics even, so a wide range of industries and stories. I am excited to have here with me today Gülbin Özdemir. I hope I didn't butcher your name, Gülbin. And she's a colleague. She's also an English teacher, and that's all I'm going to say because I'd love for you to introduce yourself, Gülbin. So
Mhm.
you're very welcome.
Okay, Daniela, thank you so much for having me today. It's such an honor and privilege to be here right now with you and also with all the audience watching and listening to us. I'm Gülbin and I live in Turkey right now because we call it Türkiye, not anymore Turkey, hopefully. So I've been like teaching for about 13 years already. It's getting to 15 years. Maybe it's going to be hit for me. And also I am still trying to manage with my master's degree, and I am trying to finish it, but somehow I can't finish it. That's why I call it like struggling all the time. And also, for about, I think, 4 years or 4.5, let's say, I've been teaching gifted and talented students right now in Antalya. And so the institution is a bit different than the other public schools. It's a public school, but it's called as a center. We call it like science and art center, but basically it's gifted center, like Americans say. So that's a very nice and enormous thing to do right now for my teaching career because I just love it. And what else should I
Wow.
say? I have a 6-year-old son, and he's bilingual as well. And I'm trying to raise him like, speaking English and Turkish at the same time. Hopefully he can right now, but I don't know what's going to be in the future.
Well,
And he's a first grader, and so we're just doing well right now. And also, what should I say? And also, I've been like speaking for conferences and um like I've been giving some talks and I've been joining to the podcasts. And now I think this year with my students, like high schoolers, because we've got the students aged between 7, 8-ish up until to 16. So that's why now I'm just working on a project. So we're gonna making a radio, but a radio
wow.
podcast with my students right now, like you
Nice.
do. So if we can, and maybe we can host you somehow. Who
Oh, that
knows?
would be lovely. Yeah, that would be lovely, exciting. Yeah.
Mhm,
Wow,
mhm.
a radio podcast with students. That's a great idea. And I'm sure the students will have a lot of fun.
Hopefully, if they
It's a
can speak and if they can manage. Yeah.
nice adventure for sure. So, Gulbin, you do a lot of things. You teach, you study, you do international projects. It's quite fascinating because, when people think about teachers, they say, "Oh, okay, those people who go into a room and they talk, other people listen, and that's it." But, actually, we do a lot of things. And you're the living proof, obviously, that we do a lot of things. Um, so you
Mhm.
work in your native country, like Turkey, yeah?
Yes.
Am I pronouncing it well?
Yeah. Very well, very well.
Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. But you work obviously internationally. And you travel a lot, of course, because you've been part of Erasmus projects, both in your native country and abroad, I suppose.
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Now, I'd like to know a bit more like about your challenges in your international experiences. So, like in a way, your experience, so when you decided to go international, and also your current international experiences with other people. So, tell us a bit about that. those two things.
Okay. Okay. Actually, that's a very tough and very sensitive question for me because I started traveling when I was, I think, 19 or 18-ish somehow, when I was just trying to finish my BA studies at the time. So I was at the university. And that university was not obviously an international one, so it was a native one. And normally, I was just like really concerned about my studies because at that time we had the Erasmus program for student mobilities for higher education students. So I just thought to myself, okay, and I need to choose wisely, which country to go because we had the agreements, like learning agreements with three other countries, and one of them was Denmark and Poland and Germany, I guess, at the time. So I chose Germany because
Oh.
guess what? In Germany, they have a lot of Turkish people.
So it
So
seems
you just
it
think,
seemed the obvious decision back then.
so you just think to yourself, okay, there are Turkish people there, and if I can, if I cannot manage to do something, if I cannot afford doing something, so I can find, my country people, come on, in Germany. So there, I had a lot of fun. And I think we were like 94 or 93 students, Erasmus students coming from different countries all over Europe. And so the first challenge was to go on a bus and think
Already.
about it. So yeah. I was in Istanbul. I was in the capital, Ankara, and I just went to other cities in Turkey, in Turkey. So it was not like, okay, I don't know how to get in or get on a bus. It
Of
was not like
course.
that. But there, there were like new regulations and new rules, and with the tickets and so on and so forth. Even the trains, like you need to be on time, and we were obviously not on time. And you just missed the
Okay.
bus, you just missed the train, and that was the first one. And it was quite challenging. And the second one was about, of course, this traveling thing. I still remember
Yeah.
because, for example, you just meet people from different countries and they say, okay, how many countries have you been to? And you say, only one.
Well, I mean that's
Because
the first impression, of course. Yeah. So it's strange,
yeah.
but
So
yeah.
yeah, it's strange. So at the time, it was like quite, how do we say, bittersweet thing for me. And so
Yeah.
then I just understood, of course. So they were all coming from, different parts of Europe. So they have their own IDs and they can travel wherever they want to. And but like I remember we had the passport and also visa process and everything. And that was a quite impressive thing for me, like exciting, because that's the first time that you've been going abroad, like as a representative of your country.
Of
So
course.
think about it. And they say, okay, I've been to lots of countries and I can speak three or four other languages. And you say, haha, I speak English and then a little bit German, maybe. So, but that experience was also challenging and also quite nice because I remember having German classes that day throughout the year. And also then I just don't know how I felt that the urge. I don't know why, but I just had the Russian classes as well in Germany.
Okay,
So
it's
that
just
was
to
again,
add to the complexity.
yeah. More, most probably, yes. But I still, use that Russian in Antalya because in Antalya we have residents from Russia and Ukraine. So yeah, it obviously
So you can still use the
improved my
language.
language skills
Wow.
at the time. But there was one thing, and that was quite touching for me at the time, and still maybe it's touching. And so the best thing was about having classes from different kind of professors and different kind of lecturers, let's say, at the time, because we didn't have any chance to take a lesson or listen to a lecture from another professor. That was the university, and a small university at the time, and the department, like I think, consisted of five lecturers and two professors at the time, I don't know. But there you could go and choose your own professor or own lecturer or own lecture even,
Of course, yeah.
so that was total freedom for me, and I just quite like had fun, and I quite benefited from all of them. But I had a compulsory class at that time, and that was given by a British lady. And so there in that class, we had students, of course, German students, and we had Erasmus students from Ireland and us from Turkey.
So it was an
So,
interesting mix. So Ireland,
yeah,
Turkey, and a British teacher.
so yeah,
That was an interesting
yeah,
mix.
yes.
And so how did it feel?
Yeah, it's quite, I don't know how to identify that feeling at the time because, I was like enjoying all the mixture and, the engagement we had with the Irish students because we were like best friends with the Irish guys at the time because we were two, they were two, and we were like a great match at that time. But Ireland and Britain and Germany and us, so she said, especially like pointing out like she was just pointing out Turkish students. So I have a question, she said, to Turkish questions, but not to Irish ones. And we were like, waiting in excitement, like, okay, that's going to be a question which, maybe will touch something or, improve something in our hearts, in our life, in our career, something like that. And she said, okay, today, our topic is culture shock. Turkish
Whoa.
students.
What a
So
topic.
I would, yeah, I would like to know about your experiences concerning culture shock. Can you tell us? Because, the question was open and the question was neutral normally. And of course, she could just ask it to Irish students, German students, Turkish, doesn't really matter. But the further explanation was quite nice. She said, because I'm asking this question to you because I don't really think that Irish students would have a culture shock here in Germany, but most probably, not most probably, oh, I think definitely you had the culture shock and the biggest culture shock ever because you're coming from Turkey to a modern, very nice, very bright country, Germany. Okay.
Wow. Okay. And how did that make you feel? Because
Like small insects.
okay.
Yeah, in the classroom. So you just, yes, you might be right, professor, but you don't know how to react to that question at that time. And you
Exactly.
were
Yeah.
like, I don't know. I was 19 years old, I think, at the time. So it's just like, between being in a mature and adult woman and between like being a teenager and you just feel the urge to react to that question with your emotions, like
Of
fully
course. Of
aggressive
course.
and offended, but you cannot. So yeah, that was quite I don't know,
So that
like
was your
very,
shock therapy by being asked about culture shock in your
yes,
first international experience. Okay, that's
yes,
pretty
yes.
interesting. That's pretty
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah, yeah. And
And
and you know what? Sorry, I had the intention
yeah.
to say that, okay, you're my biggest culture shock ever. I was gonna say that, but yeah, obviously it was gonna be rude. So
Yeah,
yeah.
of course. But yeah, it would have made sense to be honest, because that's not a question you ask, not in that way at least, not in that way.
Hmm.
Okay, but yeah, so interesting. So your first experience was a mix of like freedom, something new, negative emotions, positive emotions, and I guess a bit confusing, but like all first experiences.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
then after that, how did it go for you? So where did it go for you after that experience? So what made you decide to keep being international?
Actually, that was quite nice at the time because although we had so many challenging moments and memories, I just wanted to keep it up because, it was like at that time it was quite weird because my very first international experience was with Koreans. Back in my hometown in Turkey. And I remember having a ship which was full of books, I think, and they were selling books, and they had the volunteers from different countries, I remember. So that was a ship from, I think, Korea at the time, and that was cool. And I quite like it. And I had the English books from them, and I just had the chance to speak up with them, and that was quite cool. But then you remember and you just realize that it's a very, how do we say in English? I don't know right now how to identify this feeling, because that's I think one word would be colorful, one word would be energetic, because it makes you feel so energetic inside, and
Right.
you just learn a lot of things from different people, and they
Yeah.
have their own characters, like as a person, as people, as a human being, but at the same time, they have their own identities, like traditional identities, cultural identities that they
Yeah.
bring from their own cultures, from their own
Yeah.
countries. So, and then you just meet up with them, and then you speak and you share, and you just, for
Absolutely.
example, we share the food, we share the drinks, we share the songs, we share the dances, and we had the international cultural evenings at the time. And that was quite new to me, and I just love it. I really
Yeah.
love that. And somehow you just feel yourself like, okay, I'm gonna meet my friends from this city, that city, like typical Turkish names, that friends named typical Turkish friends. And then you say, okay, I'm gonna meet Anna today, I'm gonna meet Donald today, and you feel like, oh, okay, something is changing,
Absolutely.
and it affects your personality, it affects your way of professionalism, and it affects your perspective of life and everything in a positive way, such a positive way, because you are feeling that you just represent a country, you represent a culture, and also you represent yourself, and you have the open area to share all of them like
Wow.
everyone does. So it was a wonderful, I think, experience at that time. That spirit kept me alive,
Yeah.
I think, at the time. Then, because then I went to Doncaster, Yorkshire, to be and to teach as an assistant teacher, and then I went back to London as an Erasmus intern, and then I started to do some youth exchanges from like youngsters from different countries
Yeah.
again.
So the
And
more you
yeah,
did, the more you wanted to do, of course, because
yeah. And also
you
it's
got hooked by the
of
idea of
course,
being international. Yeah. And
of course, sure.
I have to say I just love the idea of colors, yeah. Different people, different perspectives, different cultures. It's just what makes life colorful. And I have to say that's the first time I hear it probably, but that's the best definition because come on,
Thank you.
where you can have this kind of exchanges, where you can have this kind of enrichment and also taste something new. Not only the food, of course, the music, as you said, the
Hmm.
traditions, the culture, the language, of course. I think it's
Hmm.
invaluable, and the fact that you kept doing it, so not only by traveling but also hosting people in your native country in Turkey, it's
Hmm.
wow, quite impressive. And then yeah, now England. So like it was an extra layer. So where you sort of challenge yourself, I suppose.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
was it challenging actually? Was England challenging for you?
Was yes. Absolutely, yes. I remember my very first day in London. So think about it. Before that, I lived in Germany and I studied in Germany at a university. So, that should be a very, I don't know, prestigious thing to do for myself. So I just thought in that way, but obviously it wasn't because always of course, you need to improve yourself. We know that. But life brings lots of things to the menu all the time in order to surprise you, in order to make you develop yourself, either personally or professionally. So at that time, my very first day. So before that, I was in Yorkshire. Come on, I've been to Oxford, I've been to Doncaster, I lived in Doncaster, but London is, is quite different
Different
because
story,
you know
isn't
that
it?
that yeah. So I found myself at a kiosk and with a Indian guy over there. The shop owner was just Indian because you can feel the accent. Come on, and also from the look, he was Indian. Okay, so I just thought to myself, okay, not a British guy, Indian guy. Come on, why? Because you speak English and I speak English, but not as our first tongue, first language, mother tongue. So you can understand my accent. You can understand what
Yeah.
I am saying. Okay, luckily an Indian guy. I was just thinking to myself like that. But then what happened? I had the Oyster card and I just said, okay, hello, good morning. And he responded me back like, good morning, okay. And then I just had the idea, okay, we understand each other. We're going to get along well. Okay. And hooray, you pay, something like that. But then he just started to look into my eyes, but in a way, he just meant nothing because I said, could you put £5 or £10? I don't know, £10 on this card, please. And he was looking at me like I was stupid.
Oh, come on. Why
And
was
then
that?
I just,
Why was
yeah,
that?
I started to, observe other people because I felt myself like an alien or
What am I
creature.
doing wrong here?
What I am doing wrong. And he was like not speaking to me. He was not talking. And he was like, he kept his silence. And I started to observe other people because, I was at that time, I think I was just at a intern at a museum, cartoon museum at that time. And I was just hurrying up because I didn't want to be late at the first day of
Of
my
course.
internship. And yeah, and he was just keeping his silence. And then I just started to feel the urge to listen to that conversations because people were coming with the Oyster card and they
Yeah.
were saying something. And then I just, jumped out of that kind of shocking moment and I pulled myself together and then I listened to the conversation and they said, okay, £5 top up and £6 top up. I thought that top up thing was just used for the ice cream cone. For the ice
Yeah,
cream.
of course. That's totally new language, of course. Top up.
Yes, of
Yeah, it's
course.
not.
And then yeah, and you should have seen the courage and the how brave I felt inside to speak up like, okay, £10 top up, please.
And did it
And then he
work?
understood.
It did work.
Yeah.
Finally, you got
Okay.
your
Yeah,
top up.
finally,
Yes,
finally. Yeah,
yeah,
that was quite nice.
true.
But the second time was quite challenging because I was at the post office and think about it, all the, with stems and so on and so forth. I just couldn't make it. And I went back to the museum and I told my curator that I couldn't handle it. And that was such a shamed moment for me because I just couldn't handle it. And at that time, I was like 20 years old, 21 or something like that. And think about it, no way. And I was just swearing at myself on the way back to the museum
Of
because I just
course.
couldn't do it. And yeah,
It was
that
just
was
too
quite
much, wasn't
challenging.
it? It was just too
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
Okay. But I
yeah.
mean, come on, you did survive though.
Of course,
Which is the
everybody can
main thing.
survive.
Exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Hmm.
And like so in your travels, in all your experiences, was there a turning point at some stage when you said, okay, now this is my story and this is my experience and this is what I want to do. So I want to stay international and I want to be comfortable like working internationally.
Yeah, I remember that moment because I just still remember it's so alive, that memory. So at that time I was just volunteering for an NGO in Turkey and I think I was unemployed at the time. And because in Turkey you need to be appointed if you want to be an appointed teacher. So you have to take a very, very tough and very difficult exam. And then after that exam, you can be appointed as a teacher, as a legal teacher working for the government, like a civil servant. So, and I think at the time I was unemployed and I was doing youth exchanges again, but somehow something was just missing about my perspective because I just remember enjoying that moment. I remember having lots of fun with like other people, and I was just like doing lots of great projects with my peers, and I was just on the how do we say on the position of leadering all the time. Like I was a leader,
Sure.
and that was quite nice. But at the time, I remember having a very unique project experience. So they had the idea of bringing people together and like not forcing them, but let's say forcing them to
Encouraging them.
encouraging them to stay at a village house in Italy, somewhere in Italy. So I won't be telling the name of the city or village,
Okay,
but
but
that was
yeah,
quite nice. And okay, so suddenly I found myself with like 75 people from different countries in the same village house. And they
wow.
said, okay, you're here and you have enough food, enough drinks, enough, everything.
To survive.
And yeah, all you have to do is survive here in 1 week. So we will be coming here after 1 week, and if some emergency happens, just call us, okay? And we were like shocked because nobody expected this, and the idea was about encouraging people coming from different countries to live and share the moment. So that
Sure.
was the idea, but we didn't expect this. So so they said, okay, we were like come like we were I think at that time we were coming from Greece, Turkey, and Italy and Poland and some other country like Bulgaria or Estonia. I don't remember right now.
Sure.
But that was really nice. But then we said, okay, then if we want to live here, we need to clean up, we need to cook, we need to
Yes.
do something. And then we gathered up and we organized and we just built up a commission of the ideas like a judge, and we offered something, we voted, and that was quite a nice moment for me.
Democracy
And
in action, huh?
yes, democracy in action. And we were like, surprised, and we were, I don't know, sometimes concerned and sometimes offended, but we just, took those challenges and
Sure.
turned them into advantages. And then I remember having, groups, and we were about to vote for entertainment group. We needed an entertainment group for fun, of course, because we didn't have both like TVs or telephones or internet. We
Wow.
didn't have so, so
Well,
yeah, and we had a
well,
group
it's
of cooking and
interesting.
cleaning. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then we just offered, okay, these groups can be converted, okay, switched. You will switch your groups, don't worry. I mean, especially for the cleaning.
Yeah,
And
nobody
then
wants to do that,
yeah, yeah,
huh?
yeah. And then I just, sometimes people feel so special because, for example, I cooked for, 70 people at the same time, and that was quite nice. And for example, the entertainment group, we figure
Nice is
out
not
that,
the word I
okay,
would use, but yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But
Okay.
just
But
we were talking about
yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah.
obviously.
That was yeah, that was quite weird actually, because for example, for the entertainment group, it was shocking for me because, we are coming from different cultures, but we love at the same time to shared moment, and that was really unique and interesting to me. And that was the appealing moment, the most appealing moment, for example, for me, because sometimes you just feel, that kind of mistakes in the communication, and you just have the misunderstandings in the communication because you're coming from different cultures and you have kind of like bias, and you have some
Yeah,
different identifications and explanations and elaborations on some other topics, and you just misunderstand each other, and then you just feel like offended and you become aggressive to each other and then you become enemies. So here
Yeah.
I just realized that that moment was extremely beautiful because people just were laughing and dancing and sharing the moment, and that was quite cool. And that moment I just promised to myself, okay, I'm gonna bring more people together from now on, because that's the end of this hatred speech and hatred thing all the time, which is increasing in
Yeah.
today's world even.
Absolutely. That was
So
quite the
yeah,
opposite, wasn't it? So
yeah.
bringing people together to, I mean, I love the idea because it was obviously peculiar. Yeah. In a house, no TV, no entertainment. And
Mhm.
at the same time, you had to organize like the life there. And you did it in a positive way. So yeah, it's a great message, I think. The fact
Yeah.
that we can be, yeah, that we can share, we can communicate, we can connect across boundaries, across borders, you know. I think that's the best approach ever. Going back to the idea of the colors, yeah, of having a colorful life and approach, I think that's invaluable again. So precious approach, ideas, advice. That's great, Gulbin. I don't know, I really like it, and I can
Thank
actually
you.
imagine the situation. I've been in similar situations myself, but the way
Mhm.
and the fact that you had to actually organize the house and survive there, it's another thing, absolutely. And
Mhm.
so I'm yes, so like one last question before we are towards the end of our chat, unfortunately, but one last question
Mhm.
I'd love to ask is like recommendations. Yeah, so we've spoken about traveling and then obviously organizing in your native country. So recommendations for people who, I don't know, would like to have an international life, international career, either like traveling around or staying in their home country. So, Gulbin, like, what would be uh, advice, suggestions, recommendations from you?
So, okay. And for the recommendation, I would like to give an example. So that's going to be a personal example, but I have to give this message to the people all over the world. So, like in June, like back in June, this June, in the last week of June, I lost my mom. And so that was not ex like not an experience for me, like not expected thing. So we were expecting this, but still it hurts. And I just remember myself having a very tough moment at the time, naturally. But then I found myself in again projects, because in June I lost my mom, and in July and August I was just doing youth exchanges again with my
Wow.
students this time. And that kept me very alive and motivated. And so, life goes on, even if you are depressed or not, even if you feel blue or not. So life goes on and you have to take your steps, and I want everyone to take those steps further, not, to, how do we say, to the back.
Yeah. So
So
not
yeah,
looking
so yeah,
back, I
yeah.
suppose. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's why I felt that motivation in myself, because every person brings a new joy and a new excitement, a new adventure, and I think we should take all those steps and all those opportunities and all those chances to improve ourselves. First of all, to explore ourselves. Second of all, and also finalize everything and then keep improving and keep, tasting the life, and all in all, again and again. So, um, if you can speak more than languages, like more than one languages, you definitely need to take that kind of international cooperations and international experiences with the people, because, at that time you just feel that you are not alone, even in somewhere that you don't know, you just don't know the name of the country itself, you've never heard of it, but sometimes you just feel, okay, some moments are quite special because you just see that, okay, one person living in somewhere, somehow, I don't know the name of the country, they just live there, but they understand why you are like that. They understand your story. They would like to share your story. And it's quite unique because
Yes,
yeah, at a national basis you cannot do this because everybody looks at the same issue more or less from the same perspective,
sure.
because you live in the same country and you are exposed to the same culture and same traditions and same news
Absolutely.
and everything. But when it comes to changing your perspective from an international view, international like perspective, you just feel, okay, this can be understood from another aspect. And this is a symbol and a representative thing that I am not alone in this aspect. And you know what I mean. So sometimes you
Yes.
just catch the mutual things, like some things in common, even with the people that you won't encounter in your life ever again. And you feel that, okay, I'm not alone feeling this. I'm not
Yes.
alone, thinking this. And sometimes you feel like, okay, oh, come
Yeah,
on, this is natural, and I should
exactly.
not put the burden on my shoulders ever again because
Yeah,
that's not my guilt or that's not my fault. So this perspective, and
sure.
when you get this, it's the unique part of your personal improvement. So I would definitely, and I would strongly recommend people to at least one time, at least once in their life, to experience this international cooperation and collaboration.
Absolutely. Connect without borders, we might say. Yeah.
Yes, exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly.
And enjoy the
Mhm.
colors of
Yes.
cultures, nationalities, traditions, people. Yeah. Enjoy
Hmm.
people, really, the bottom line, you know? So,
Yeah.
absolutely. Look, Gulbin, it's been great, and I really appreciate you sharing also things from your personal perspective, personal point of view, sharing your personal story. It's strong, and I think you're very brave for it. So thank you very much. And it's been really a
Mhm.
pleasure having you here on my podcast. So thank you.
Thank you
And
so much.
absolutely. And everybody, thank you very much for being here with us. I hope you enjoyed our chat. I certainly did enjoy it. It was very profound. And I will see you in the next episode. Okay? Bye bye.